Well, folks, we are now into the final frontier for the regional finals on iRacing before we head on to our final two platforms. And we've arrived at the Americas for this one, and we're back at Imola for yet more action. Two races here to bring you once again to correspond with what we've already seen from EMEA and also APAC at the same time. Like I said, welcome all to the Ferrari HP Esports series. My name is, of course, George Morgan, your commentator. Joining me once again, as always, it's Lewis McGlade. Lewis, we're back. Fresh after the action this morning, and now another region awaits.
Yeah, certainly so. We've had, obviously, 4 drivers now qualified their way through into the grand final. We've got 2 more to be picked from these 2 races this evening. And I don't know about you, George, I'm getting the feeling that this might be the most open of the rounds we've had so far.
Yeah, quite a few, again, returning faces, some new faces as well at the same time, which is always spicy because you never know what's going to occur, or certainly what's going to lie in wait around the corner. One thing I will say is that things are sort of becoming nicely well-rounded. You know, we had a look at the racing that we had in the EMEA. We had a little bit of, should we say, a little bit of carnage, a little bit of chaos, and obviously it allowed Norbert Tamash to go on to win from the second row of the grid for race 1. Of course, later he would go from lights to flag then for race 2. But it was more a formality, wasn't it, earlier on today? Essentially, the 2 drivers at the head of the field, that being Damon Woods and also Cody Deeth, pretty much going from start to finish in front and in full control.
Yeah, they were just completely dominant in both of the races. Obviously dealt with the first corner brilliantly, the pair of them, and then just kind of ran at the front of the field, separated by a fair amount, didn't really challenge each other, just drove around, did what they needed to do to grab the necessary points to finish first and second in the region. And like I say, it was a solid performance from them, but it's one of those ones of it did highlight again for some of those drivers behind the fragility running into turn 1 with with some of the incidents that we were seeing in there. We did see quite a lot of incidents early doors, especially in that first race.
Yeah, we definitely did. I think it was obviously the teething factor of, we mentioned to Graham, who we will speak to later on, by the way, obviously alluding to the fact that maybe tonight the Americas region probably a little bit more prepared, Lewis, because they would have seen some of the stuff going on in the European side and also the Asian Pacific region and China as well.
Yeah, like what I said at the end of the APAC broadcast, that if I'm one of these drivers racing in the Americas region, I'm taking a look at that broadcast, at least from the first 2, and particularly noting that in that first race, there is generally an instant from around about the second and third row on back. So if I'm starting on that second and third row, that's what I'm looking out for. And even if I'm on that first row, I'm keeping my eyes glued to my mirrors because you know that stuff can unfold very quickly behind.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, folks, we can now take a look at the region structure as we move our way through the course of the championship once again. Remember, this all builds to a grand final in Abu Dhabi, but ultimately 3 regions taking to the track in a bid to qualify for that said grand final. EMEA, APAC, as well as Americas. China, remember, also part of the APAC region at the same time. This is how they qualified to reach the regional finals, going through the hot lap phase on through June and July. Then September, October, it was regional qualifiers, and we're now here at this point, October to November, where the regional finals will take place. And the grand finals, of course, is what they're all yearning for. 3rd of December, Ferrari World, Yas Island, Abu Dhabi, to crown the Ferrari HP Esports Series champion. This is how the formats work here on iRacing. This is what we're going to be centering our attention on tonight, as we have done over the last 2 broadcasts that we have, of course, brought to you. Qualifying tees up the race 1 grid, taking place over 10 minutes, 15-minute race for race 1, which also the result of that sets the grid for race 2. Remember, top 2 proceed to the grand final on the iRacing platform from all regions, and then we move on to Assetto Corsa as well, where we have the winner, only one winner, can I just say, proceeding to the grand final. Something a little different on ACC. Of course, generally we do see the top 2 from ACC go through from Europe, but only 1 from the Americas and also only 1 from the Asian Pacific region. So that is how the system works. Here is the calendar. We kick things off here at Imola. Of course, we've already sealed the deal on EMEA and APAC as well. We are here tonight at Americas here on the 11th of October for the final iRacing round in the regional finals. We then move to Laguna Seca to kick things off for our second phase and our second platform as well on the 24th of October for EMEA. It's then APAC then on the 25th in the morning, and then in the evening we have the Americas broadcast as well to then conclude Assetto Corsa. We then move to Watkins Glen for ACC action on the 7th of November for European action on that fold at Watkins Glen. We then move through to APAC and Americas on November 8th, where we will sign, seal, deliver all drivers that are looking to move through to the grand final at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. But now we have the pleasure to introduce, once again, obviously part of the Ferrari family as an esports driver as well, it is the one, the only, Graham Carroll. Graham, welcome back.
George, Lewis, thanks for having me here. Excited to see the sort of final category in iRacing races tonight. So I see some really quick times in the leaderboard already. So it's there's not a lot separate in each category in each region. So excited to get going.
Yeah, it's going to be special. Obviously, like again, we saw it from the APAC region and also the MEA. Quite a nice mixture of talents that have come in that have competed already in the series last year. Of course, Cody Deeth, one of the rare drivers actually qualifying for his second successive grand final. We've got a few drivers that obviously took part in the series last year, haven't necessarily largely competed and managed to find their way into a final. So new territory for a lot of these guys as well. But I'm sure they have taken some learnings, Graham, from what they've already seen.
Exactly right. You need to go back and watch out how the other races panned out. Is there danger corners, danger areas at the start of the race? Because if you want to make the Abu Dhabi final, you need a couple of clean races tonight and to be right up the front. So qualifying is going to be a massive part, and obviously keeping it clean in the races. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, and obviously a brutal format, Graham. I mean, obviously you're experienced in various realms of sim racing, in all realms of competition as well, competing against different drivers for various teams, obviously now finding home at Ferrari. Obviously, this is a very vigorous process, this. We have two races, largely, a very different format to last year. We've mentioned how brutal it really is. Just what have you got to do to really cope with that amount of pressure that you're going to be dealing with, especially when there's only effectively one qualifying session for the entire regional final phase?
Just hours and hours of laps, it really is, right? You need to go in there tonight and feel as confident as you can. So when you go into that quali lap, you're just going to nail it. You know, that's really what's going to put you in front of everyone else tonight. And yeah, you just got to, hopefully there's no drama turn one, and yeah, just be positive about the night, and you've got to hope for the best. And you never know, there's some guys out here tonight that are just looking for an experience as well. Like, they'll be happy that they've made this stage. There's other guys that are here to win. So no, I'm just really interested. Like you say, maybe we've not got the crazy I ratings of we had in the past two races, the past two categories. So it's all to play for tonight. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, it definitely is. And obviously, just in comparison to last year, as opposed to moving, to fully GT3 cars that we had last year, we have a bit of a mishmash in the Ferrari camp this time, because of course we moved from the 296 on iRacing to the Ferrari 499P, taking more of a prototype route as opposed to a beastly sports car, should we say. Though we won't say wholeheartedly goodbye to the 296 because we'll see it on ACC. But we've got a nice spread of Ferrari technology over the three different platforms, because we've got the 488 still in situ on AC as well. So how is that going to work, do you think, in terms of grand final competition?
You know, you're maybe going to have some guys that excel in an endurance style car, and maybe vice versa in the GT3s, right? GT3s is a very popular category on sim racing as a whole. So maybe some guys get in one car and other guys get in the other, but when they meet on stage in Abu Dhabi, it could really, one guy could be stronger in other areas. But again, there's going to be quite the mixture in the final. So adaptability, we've said it all day and yesterday as well, adaptability is key, not just in the cars but on the sim rigs as well. So it's who can adapt and who can be the quickest, and yeah, we're looking forward to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, and obviously adapting is key, Lewis, especially when we head into a circuit like Imola. Obviously the Emilia-Romagna circuit, it's coveted in various types of corners, slow, mid, fast speed in itself. We're just having a look at the Tamburello section right now, and you've got a few straight line options. Obviously the main one will be the home straight, but you're not short of opportunities around this track.
No, certainly not. I mean, look, we've seen a good few overtakes, mostly coming down into Tamburello. But of course, Valero in the opening night yesterday evening did put on a great move going around the outside at the Villeneuve chicane, the second chicane on the circuit. We've seen some dives going down into Tosa. We don't typically see too many moves outside of that, although I distinctly remember one this morning going around the outside at Piratella, which was absolutely fantastic. And I say, you can put on those moves around here. You do have those opportunities, especially in this car, which can be a bit of a handful. And so we do expect to see some drivers potentially sliding off the corner by slamming that throttle pedal down and maybe opening the opportunity for a big move somewhere out on the circuit.
Yeah, and obviously we've seen some hero stories, obviously from some of the drivers, especially highlighting the likes of Norbert Tamash, Valero, and at the same time Damon Woods and Cody Deeth. But you've almost got to wonder what if, haven't you, as well, for some of those other talents that we have seen taking part in this series so far, with Giuseppe Lafaro, who is certainly on the pace, Francis McGinn showing some really strong highlights as well in the EMEA side, and then, of course, moving into APAC. We saw Caleb Hides, and also, by the same token, the Scot that we saw at the front end of the order. I believe, just trying to rack my brain and my memory. Obviously, we've got so many drivers obviously competing. Yes, Ewan Baker, I should say, taking part in the series. Obviously, those are some drivers that experienced a little bit of hardship, but showed plenty in terms of their raw talent and ability. They'll probably be likely disappointed with what has happened to them through the course of the early phases.
100%. I mean, look, you've got to look at it this way. Of course, we've had 25 drivers on each of the grids that we've had thus far. Just 2 of them progressed through into the grand final. There's no second chance. There's no extra opportunity. There's no mismatch where we stick them all onto the same grid and then see who comes out on top in that one. You get the single opportunity, the one time going into qualifying, the 2 races that we've got over the evening, and it is the top 2 point scorers across that. That's it. Outside of that, you have to just wait until next year. And part of that is, that brutality is sometimes hard to watch, but that's where you see some of the best drivers come to the fore and are able to bounce back after some hardships, like Gal Valera at the opening part of the race yesterday. We're seeing the onboard lap here with Gonzalez around this Imola circuit, again getting that fantastic speed. We don't suspect, though, George, these opening laps are going to be particularly the fastest. I do suspect, based on what I was seeing in practice, though, the pole time for this is going to be slightly slower than what we've had in the other 2 races, but potentially a low 1 minute 30, maybe a 0.1 or a 0.0.
Yeah, I think largely in this early phase, Graham, you're focusing on just getting the car into an optimal position, really, getting those tyres up to temperature, finding your route on the track, acclimatising yourself to the Imola circuit.
Exactly, just going out there, getting the temps up in the tyres, the brakes, everything, just bringing it up to the right temperature and not pushing the fronts too hard, not pushing the rears, and maybe getting out of balance for the start of your lap. So making sure that all comes in together very nicely. And as we're seeing guys getting onto the flyers, and probably lap 2 and 3 is what we're looking at here, but it's looking good.
Yeah, well, obviously, it would be rude of us not to point out some of the drivers that have, of course, come into this off the back of form to actually qualify for the regional finals. Of course, Hot Laps kicked off first, and we did have some superb winners in that. Gabriel Parra could be one to watch in this. Of course, a winner for Hot Laps round 2, and at the same time, Hot Laps round 1, it was Guglielmo Caligari who was one to watch in that one too. Ronaldo Carlos, who some of you might remember from last year, also competing to the highest order last time out, finishing second in Hot Laps round 1. I have actually got confirmation in my ear Caligari isn't actually taking part this time, or certainly for this session, so therefore will not be featuring in the grand final. It really does provide an opportunity for the likes of Ronaldo Carlos to bring his very best. We also have regional qualifiers round 1, or race 1 action. We had a couple of winners make their way through. Matthew Knoll was dominant through the course of both races that he took part in the regional qualifiers to get to the regional finals. And again, another driver that took part last year, utilising that experience as well. At the same time, Lewis, he could be one of the head honchos here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's different kettle of fish when you get into the regional finals. I think this driver here, Miguel Beltran, who topped practice coming into this as well, set a 1 minute 30.0, obviously known in the Ferrari Esports series, and I think I think certainly one to keep an eye on. You've got your likes of Leandro Vela over there. Jackson Rosenda, who's the one at the top of the session at the moment, is the highest I-rated driver. Have seen him before in quite a few championships and such here on iRacing. Tellez there goes in the first position, and then Leandro Vela. There goes Beltran with a 7:07. We're still expecting at least half a second out there. There's Matthew Nola you were just talking about.
Yep, making his way down now in towards the next segment of corners. We got Biasiotto now moving into 5th, Moreno into 6th place, Blanco into 9th. Matthew Knoll now making his way through the final 2 Ravazza corners, Wimbley into 12th, as we now watch them make their way down the straight. And the Canadian, Matthew Knoll, looking to lay down his first proper time on to the roster. Ruiz goes into 7th. Here comes Matthew Knoll. Let's see where he goes. Only enough for 13th fastest so far, just within 2 seconds of Miguel Beltran, who is on the pace currently with a 1:30.708. Gabriel Paiva also sat in 5th spot as well. Personal bests lighting up across the field. Still a little bit of time left to go. But realistically, Lewis, we're talking, what, 2 laps?
Yeah, like I say, I think that, like I say, 2 laps left to go in the session, fair enough. Yeah, they have to nail them. Again, once that session is over, if you haven't joined us in the opening 2 races that we've had, or 2 rounds rather for the APAC region and of course EMEA, then once this session is done, once it reaches that 10 minutes, this session is over. So you only get, it's not when, if you've started a lap, it doesn't matter. So you really have to make these 2 laps count. And now that the car and the tyres are up to temperature, these laps are seriously important. So Gabriel Para-Gonzalez goes up then into provisional pole position with a 4:08. That's a solid lap time. Not going to be good enough for pole, but could be good enough for the first couple of rows.
Yeah, Robert Santos also popping himself into 2nd, just ahead of Esteban Tellez at the same time. So at the moment it's the Colombian, Tellez down in 3rd. At the moment, the Venezuelan of Gabriel Para-Gonzalez up at the very top of the order. Leandro Vela pops in behind his countryman, Ronaldo Carlos, into 7th. With fellow countrymen also, Gabriel Paiva still rooted down in 13th. We'd probably expect him to be a little bit higher, much like Rafael Blanco as well. Brent Ruiz into 9th place. Decent visit for him. But Leandro Vela already having some struggles here, Lewis, because he's meatballed in this session.
Yeah, and certainly a driver that I was expecting to keep an eye on throughout the running of this session, but Leandro Vela's lap time obviously now will basically cease to count, and 7th is as good as it's going to get, and I suspect it will get worse than that with that lap time. Some more good times to come in as everyone's fully up to temperature. Not 100% sure as to what's happened to Leandro Vela. At the moment, we can see our provisional pole sitter who set a 4:08, just ahead of another time on a 4:08, nice and tight at the top. Not sure it's going to last like that, though.
Yeah, pretty much to the millisecond between those two. Robert Santos putting together a really impressive lap. And I must say, all his time was actually gained in the latter sector as opposed to perhaps Gonzalez over that previous run. Though I will say that's on this current lap on the last sectors. Beltran moves into 3rd as we now see Robert Santos moving in, or should I say, oh yes, no, coming in late. Just a late twist there. Purple lap of a 1:30.204 for Santos to go to the top. Here comes Gabriel Paiva, who we mentioned was just outside the top 10, looking to move back up as Blanco goes 10th fastest himself. Here comes Gabriel Paiva, enough for only 12th fastest. Carries a pretty healthy I rating, does Gabriel Paiva as well, 6.7k, Lewis.
Yeah, that's solid on this field. Jackson Rosende, who we're looking at here, has the highest I-rated, is the highest I-rated driver on the field. Interesting to note that Miguel Beltran clearly was not feeling his final lap there and bailed from it after just crossing the first sector line about a 10th or so down. And where he'd been, didn't feel that he could improve on the 1:30.4 that he currently is set to go into 3rd position. Jackson Rosende up towards the line. Is there going to be any improvement for the driver who currently sits in 6th in the session as Molina goes up to 7th? Rosende then goes up onto the front row of the grid. Solid lap time. That'll be his session done. No further improvements from him from now on.
But he has got that crucial front row, at least for now, provisional, albeit because we're still awaiting cars to round the final corners this time. Gabriel Para-Gonzalez, also part of this, 3rd fastest for now, was just now moved ahead of by Jackson Rosende. Can Gonzalez fight back? He's looking strong coming out of that first sector and now looking to dial it in to perhaps tipify himself into 2nd place. Not quite close enough, though, with a 1:30.4, as now we await Ronaldo Carlos to also cross the line as well. The young Brazilian who qualified last year goes ahead of Gonzalez and into 3rd, Lewis.
Yeah, Brazil 1, 2, 3 then in the session. as BSC Otto will now come up towards the line, currently sat in 8th in the session. Is there any improvement coming in? First sector's looking decent, second sector dropped a fair amount, now I'm not sure there will be an improvement there. So it is Santos who has the opening pole, or the pole of the night.
Yeah, Robert Santos with pole position ahead of Jackson Resende, Ronaldo Carlos, making it an all-Brazilian top 3 for this one, with Gabriel Para Gonzalez down in 4th place, Miguel Beltran in 5th. Impressive stuff, I must say. BSC Otto just managing to club together that P8 at the very end of play ahead of Preston Lay as well. But some impressive qualifying laps brought together. Incredible effort there from Robert Santos. Obviously, that puts him right in the prime spot, but maybe you have to be a little wary of Jackson Resende in P2 there, Graham, because he looks extremely quick.
Yep, I'm sure I've actually shared the circuit with him a few times as well, and the guy's rapid. So, no, honestly, I think when you actually look at this, the top 16 were all within a second, and the other 2 evenings, or the other 2 packs of cars of the races we've had before, it's a bit more spread out than that. So this is definitely very, very close. So I don't think it's completely over. So yeah, I think anyone on that sort of top 15, 16 that's got a bit of a chance, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be very close. Obviously, we saw the times flickering all over the place. Tends to feel, though, here, Lewis, and I know you touched on it a little bit, that this is a far more even spread of drivers, I think, in comparison to the previous 2 regions.
Yeah, like I said, for the previous 2, realistically, we could probably pick 2 or 3 or 4 drivers that we'd be expecting to be battling towards top. And normally, you know, based on that, they were the ones there or thereabouts. This one, I wouldn't even know where to begin. I think there's a lot of drivers that are very close on speed. Even coming out of that practice, there's a few drivers that I know will be disappointed. Rafael Blanco's down in 11th position. Definitely would have been expecting more in this session. Miguel Beltran, who topped the practice session, just 5th. I know it's still 5th is not too bad, but 3rd row of the grid, you're in that kind of danger zone. Obviously, Leandro Vela, who we've spoken about a little bit at the back end of the top 10, not being able to get his final laps in qualifying courtesy of a damaged car. Like I said, there'll be a few disappointed drivers out there on the field and a few drivers that are going to get hungry for an overtake down to that first corner, which is, as we've seen before, George, quite tight. So I'm suspecting there might be some drama here into Tamburello.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of drama, Graham, we had a little bit of drama in qualifying with Leandro Vela, as Lewis mentioned. Obviously down in 10th place now off the back of essentially crippling his car. Apparently, according to our producers, actually had contact around the final corner as well. So naturally, that's going to shake the confidence a little bit heading into the first race of the night.
Exactly right. You wanted to come in here and get a really solid spot, even top 10 though. It's still not terrible, but just a really clean night, right? We need a clean qualifying, clean race 1, clean race 2, and if you want to make that Abu Dhabi. So maybe not the best start, but I like what Lewis said as well. This is a very tightly packed field. Anything can happen into turn 1. So I think you just got to get through the first few laps and see where you are.
Yeah, I think just, you know, sort of siding on the aura of patience, I suppose, a bit like what Gael Valero did, I think, in many ways. Maybe take a slight hit by dropping a few places, maybe lose a battle to essentially win the war.
100%. It's yeah, you just can't be relying on others to make sure you make it through tonight, right? So it's you've really got to be cautious and keep that car without any damage. That's the main thing, because the tiniest little bit of damage, as we've seen this morning, can really hinder that top speed along the straight, and that's your main overtaking. So if you can't get the move done into there, it's quite a tough circuit to get past. So fingers crossed there's not too much carnage.
Yeah, and obviously when we look at the circuits here, Graham, obviously we touched on it a little bit in our previous 2 regions as well. Mainstay areas for overtaking heading into these 2 races, can you pull them apart and pick them out for us?
Yeah, I'd say honestly turn 1, obviously you've got the straight leading into it that you can almost slipstream and get too wide going into there. Normally that sort of sometimes lasts through 1, 2, 3 and into the Villeneuve chicane, the next again chicane coming up, and that can also lead into the hairpin. After that, coming up the hill gets very sort of tight and narrow down to Acromene Alley. So apart from that, yeah, the last 2 corners you really want to be setting up the overtake for turn 1. So keep an eye out for some of them.
Yeah, obviously that's Variante Alto we're currently seeing now on your screens, folks. So we'll look forward to seeing who's going to best place themselves around this track in this race to potentially open up doors for overtaking. Will it be the case, though, that Robert Santos runs away with it? Any predictions on your part, Lewis McGlade?
Do you want 2 drivers, or are we just want to run one for this race win?
We'll focus on this race for now.
I think Resende might be the one to look at here. Not just because he's the highest I rated, but I can see him maybe getting a little bit steady here at the first corner, and I think that could be slightly to his advantage. I mean, you got to go for it.
Yeah, I mean, naturally you do. Coming through the final Ravazza corner, and it's going to be the top two side by side. Well, remember, of course, they take two columns, and they will then go alongside one another in a rolling start. No standing start here in the 499Ps as we get underway here in the Ferrari HP Esports Series in our Americas region for this race here this evening to kick us off. Remember, 2 races to bring you, and we're just about to kickstart the first one here this time. Robert Santos there on the left. We have Resende on the right. Who is going to lead coming out of Tamburello as they put pedal to the metal? And it's go, 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 go. Great start by Resende there in the white as they now charge down through towards the first corner apex. So the inside line will be given to Robert Santos, and off the track goes Resende. He takes the gravel trap, almost shades of Carl Valero there, Lewis.
Yeah, he got sent a little bit, and as he's rejoined, it's absolute chaos. He's got his car spinning in the form of Blanco, who qualified in 11th position, is now dropping right the way down the order. Resende's in 10th position, having been passed by Vela. A couple of cars off the road, including Vela and Lee, pair of them off the road. Oh my goodness, it's a chaotic start to the race. Gonzalez also gone for a spin.
Yeah. That's,
oh my goodness.
Oh wow. Yeah, we've had probably a more severe crash in comparison to the MEA that kick-started the weeks of racing. You just see them, they're all at a standstill coming through Tosa as they now charge down the Piratella here this time. It's Resende we're currently seeing on screen just ahead of Brent Ruiz, the American, just looking to try and remain on the tail fin of Resende right now. But now as they charge down towards the Variante Alta section, Robert Santos still in control. It is still a Brazilian 1 and 2. Slightly chaotic there, Graham?
It wasn't half, right? It's we did expect it. I think with the top 16 all being within a second, they're that closely packed. It's always going to be a bit of, oh, I should have been ahead of him in qualifying and I'll make the move, and it doesn't quite work out. So, yeah, a bit of a wild first lap, but it's a bit of a shame for Resende as well. He's obviously got that great jump into turn 1, and then I don't know if it was netcode, there's the tiniest little bit of contact, but that's put him right back into the pack. And to be honest, to be P6 after that, he's done really, really good. So hopefully he can move forward.
Well, we got a 3-wide situation here coming in towards Tamburello, and I tell you what, you know where these can lead to. Miguel Beltran, part of this on the wide outside, has managed to at least still venture himself out side by side, but they've lost a place, this bunch. Jackson Resende now moving onwards, but we've lost another one, and very nearly, in fact, I think he just about collected the car in front, but that's some significant damage, and that is Beltran out of the race by and large, Lewis.
Yeah, I actually couldn't believe how in all that opening chaos, right, started 5th and still came out of it all 5th, considering how sendy-wendy everyone was around him. But clearly decided to give it a little bit of a go himself, and that one did not work out. And unfortunately, already retired from the race, but pulled the car back to pit lane. Day done, at least in this race. We'll have to start from the rear of the field. But to be fair, with these races, George, this race already in the opening 2.5 minutes has been absolute chaos. Just stay out on the road. Even if you've got a damaged car here, stay out on the road. You might gain a few positions late on, and those positions, of course, impact your starting position in the next race later on in this evening, literally in about 50 minutes' time from now when we start the second race of the night.
Well, the biggest gainer at the moment is Brandon William, currently sat down in 10th place. 14 places gained for him. So a brilliant job on his part, and he will be in the points come the end of play. As now we see Preston Lay, who, remember, was one of the initial drivers that got caught napping and ended up falling down through the rostrum. He's now managed to charge his way back up into 12th. So certainly a remarkable recovery on his part to manage to shift his way just behind Aaron Raymond at the moment, as Matthias Arevalo moves past Matthew Knoll. As we now take a look at the front, that's Ronaldo Carlos in the thick of the action. Now, this is a replay from the start of the race, heading down in towards Tamburello. This was a side-by-side, so a little tap on the rear left by the looks of it there, and that was on Jackson Resende, if you remember, having to escape onto the gravel. We then had a big mishmash heading up through towards Tosa. One car getting caught really in between two, and left then stranded in the middle of the road. I mean, I hate to use the word karma, but it might have been slightly applied there, Lewis.
Yeah, that was becoming an expensive car park and the gravel trap there on the exit of Tosa. So, like I say, it was a little bit messy on the exit of Villeneuve, and it just kind of took down to it. Obviously, yes, the incident there with Jackson Resende, it did seem as though there was contact there. He was sent a little bit. And in that braking zone, you only require a light bit of contact to send you. Obviously, all that weight's been put on the front of the car, and these cars are a little, you kind of dance a little bit down into Tamburello, and so that little bit of contact is enough to push you off the road. But, as has been pointed out, he drove straight over the gravel, rejoined, got on with it, and find himself in 5th position. Not great, but there's at least 4th to be grabbed, maybe even a little bit more, and that's going to put him in a solid position potentially for the next race.
Yeah, Matthew Knoll moving up into 17th as well. I mean, you've really got to be a little bit cautious, haven't you, Graham? These cars aren't built the same way as the GT3s.
Exactly. I think the GT3s, you can get a bit more rough and ready and leaning on each other at the start, where these are definitely not the cars to be doing that. So it's but no, it's been an exciting start to the race. Look at all the gravel over the track there as well. It's insane. But no, it's you say your Resende guy here. Can he get back up to 4th, maybe even 3rd? Because it's going to be in this sort of top 5-6 group for the next race as well, I think. So it's yeah, going to be very close to pick 2 guys from the end of this, I think.
Yeah, well, Jackson Resende at the moment, the fastest man out on track. His last lap was the fastest lap of the race with a 1:31.053. Now sits only a short distance back from Francesco Biasiotto. It's now standing at 9/10. If anything, Biasiotto has been quicker, as now we see Crow moving ahead of Mendoza in 16th. We're currently watching our race leader, Robert Santos, but still with company. Carlos hasn't left him alone, Lewis.
No, certainly not. Again, the top 3 remain pretty close as they work their way through Alta, and as much as I would look back to the likes of Jackson Resende and Biasiotto, I don't believe those 2 are going to rejoin this fight unless they battle quite hard. But that's the thing. Unless they battle quite hard, I can see these 3 battling pretty hard around here. Again, they're not close enough yet, but I do get the feeling that Carlos does have the speed to close the way on. The previous lap time, they were separated by about half a second in advantage of Carlos. This time, the advantage goes slight the way of Santos, but the fastest lap comes in from Tellez. Let's see this move again from Jackson Resende, who's in that white car on the left.
Yeah, we almost saw this happening before it really happened, to be quite honest. But we saw first and foremost, the 3 of Miguel Beltran taking a very wide line on the run in towards Tamburello. A lovely effort there on part of Resende to commit and hold position, but the 3 would eventually go for a spin. That was Miguel Beltran, who would eventually lose the front end of that car, effectively bringing an end to his day, and he is out of the race. Lay moving ahead of Brooks now into 10th, so into the points, and Blanco's looking to recover from a slowdown, now moving ahead of Brooks, and Arevalo does the same. So it's Blanco 11, Arevalo into 12th as we watch Esteban Tellez. The fastest man out on track, as you so rightly say, Lewis, fastest lap of the race last time out, and could yet cause Ronaldo Carlos some problems.
It has been a pretty slow lap, though, like you say, from Ronaldo Carlos, who's, like you say, right into the clutches of Esteban Tellez. The problem for that is that they're allowing Robert Santos to clear away ever so slightly now, and so that gap growing to just more than a second between 1st and 2nd positions. We're halfway through this 10-lap race. 5 laps were completed at the line. That means there's 5 more laps around it, 5 more opportunities into Tamburello, 5 more opportunities around the rest of the circuit. Jackson Resende really needs to clear Biasiotto in 1. He needs to do it here into Tamburello, and I'm not sure he's close enough to do it in Tamburello. An important fastest lap coming in from Santos, your race leader.
Yeah, and also a personal best on Biasiotto, which causes Resende some issues if indeed Biasiotto starts setting personal best laps, because it means that it's going to make life a lot more difficult for Resende to get this necessary move one and done. We run on board here with the Brazilian now, who is looking to make his way through Villeneuve to close onto the back of Biasiotto. Personal best for Espinosa as well, down in 8th place. Blanco doing the same as they head down now in towards the total left-hander. There is Blanco, the Uruguayan, currently on the tail of Preston Lay right now, and on the cusp of breaking back into that top 10. Remember, he lost it due to the slowdown earlier on. Wimbley's just picked one up himself, swarming all over the back of Preston Lay, but unable to find the avenue to get past at the Villeneuve chicane. So has to hold station, albeit for now, but maybe he'll try something up through Piratella should he get a decent run out of tow. So we will find out. It looks like he might have a chance at that decent run. Well, certainly fed himself a tighter line heading uphill, but now they're going to reach the precipice of the course and then heading downwards through towards Acqua Minerale. Blanco looks dialed in at the moment. Teles getting closer to the back of Carlos, and Carlos continuously dropping tenths on, well, from Santos at the moment. That gap's only getting bigger.
Certainly so. It's not looking good for Carlos. It is looking good, though, for Santos, who, again, is setting some solid lap times here. And I think this lap we might see could even be an improvement on that 30.651. Certainly is 5.12. So another fastest lap coming in for your race leader, who's looking comfortable behind the wheel of that 4.99 at the moment, running away from things behind. 1.2 seconds to those behind as we go back to Rafael Blanco, who's been involved in a couple of incidents in this, including on that opening lap. Now works his way back up into the point-paying positions of 10th.
Yeah, and obviously Aravalo looking to follow him through once again, being joined by Brandon M. William, who is still currently sat in 12th at the moment. Aravalo seemingly getting past, but they're still wheel to wheel on the run down through towards Tamburello this time around. But it's Aravalo able to maintain that P11 place. Just a little update as well concerning Resende. He's got past Biasiotto, so he's got that clear air, Lewis.
Yeah, indeed. 5 seconds, though, to close down. I don't think that's the goal in the next 5 minutes. I think that's impossible for him to close down. He'd have to be setting into the mid-29s to be able to do it, and I just don't think that that's necessarily pace that he can run at. Obviously, if Carlos and Teles battle, then that'll open up the opportunity for him to really close his way in, and that would be pretty handy and maybe an opportunity into the fight with the podium. But the goal at the moment has to be to run away. Now, that's going to be a slowdown penalty. He absolutely sent it at Alta, and for Resende here, the slowdown he might get could be pretty substantial because that was a big cut.
Yeah, I mean, that was the point I was about to bring across to you, Graham, because, you know, this is, again, the battle of risk and reward, isn't it? While Resende was probably likely looking to close on the back of Teles, you are putting yourself at risk of a slowdown, which throws the advantage back to Biasiotto.
Absolutely, and I don't think he looks like he's slowing down, so he maybe got away with that one somehow, but yeah, no, it's they were 3 seconds behind P3, Resende and Biasiotto, but now they're 5 seconds. So for Resende to get by, they cost himself 2 seconds. But that one position could be the points that he needs to get through to the grand final. So, like you say, maybe not going to catch up to P3 unless the P2 and P3 battle. But it's never over. It's never over.
No, and at the very least, Lewis, he's got himself a second row spot. As now we see Ronaldo Carlos, I think. Well, he's got 1.3 seconds to find on Santos at the moment, but Santos obviously trying to make his way through some of the back markers, I think, towards the rear of the field. But we're just watching Jackson Resende now making his way through Piratella, heading downhill through towards Aqua Minerale. Half a second between himself and Biasiotto. Now that gap is certainly maintained. The slowdown not causing any issues as of late, as we now see the overtake, I believe, just closing up on the back of the 13 of Oh, my goodness. Now, you might be in trouble for that, Lewis.
Oh, that was a big send, and like I say, saw one opportunity and was like, right, that's my time to go. Was he alongside enough for the likings of the race stewards? Well, that's something that will be dealt with post event, of course, in the evening afterwards. But I mean, look, it's tough racing if you're fighting again over being first and second on the points at the end of the evening, and you've got to get your elbows out when you've been sent down the order ever so slightly. So I get it from Resende. I just think it might have been maybe a touch too much. But again, that's for the race stewards to decide. I'm just a fat commentator in a comedy booth.
Well, I mean, we've just lost another. That is Espinosa. And Preston Lay, I think, also dropping as well. So Blanco moving up to 8th. I think Preston Lay just about recovering into 10th. It's Espinosa, I think, who took the lump of that and ventured off into the gravel. There he is right now, the Peruvian, now currently locked down in 12th place, just ahead of Brooks, and has got William now in front of him. Blanco's just done a personal best of a 1:32.180. Just going back to that moment between Resende and Biasiotto, Graham. Obviously, if you are Biasiotto in that exchange, are you going to take exception to that?
I think so, right? It's never going to be a great thing to sort of be shuffled out the way there. Was there really enough car alongside to make a move? It's questionable, but again, we're in this position, like, do you want to make Abu Dhabi? You need to make the moves. So listen, you need to stick the nose on. You need to go for it, because if you don't and you go to your bed at night tonight, you'll be regretting all these opportunities that you never took. So let's see what happens in the stewards room for that one, I think.
Yeah, obviously every result is provisional at the end of play. Obviously, let's go back to the incident with Espinosa and see what happened at Rivazza 1 and Rivazza 2. Oh my goodness me, that was a late send. I think, to be honest with you, that's the blame only falls one way there, Lewis.
Yeah, that one, a little bit simpler to decide. The car sending it down the inside, definitely a fault on that one. Like I say,
like Preston Lee, I think, by the looks of it, the number 10.
Yeah, I couldn't remember which way round it was, but yeah, definitely then Preston Lee and of course Espinosa, the two that came to contact there. And yeah, pretty simple one to pick apart there. It's not the same as the Resende Piazziotto one. I completely agree with what Graham was saying. You would go to bed after this distraught if you didn't at least try. If you try and fail, at least you can sit there and go, well, at least I gave it a good go. There's only one final lap they've tell us to try and find a way past Ronaldo Carlos, and there's not many corners left for that lap as well.
No, not at all. Espinosa back in the heat of the action as well in 12th place at this stage. He's got Brandon William up in front of him, but in comes Crow. Alex Crow looking to find his way through around the outside, coming through Tamburello. Off wide goes the 30 of Espinosa, and in the process, Brooks moves into 13th, Lewis.
Yeah, certainly so. Solid racing here. Unfortunately, for nothing. No points being dished out here. The only thing they're fighting over is that grid position for the second race a bit later on.
Well, he got in front and he could not be stopped. Robert Santos now making his way through the final couple of corners. Ronaldo Carlos a distant second, 2.2 between them. Tellez with only a short course to make his way up towards the line. They won't be in the win factor though. It's going to be Robert Santos, your winner of race 1 here in the Americas in the Ferrari HP Esports Series. Fabulous start here for the young Brazilian. Ronaldo Carlos, his fellow countryman, will finish second, with Esteban Tellez coming across the line, a gallant third as well. There's Rafael Blanco. We'll take a look at his camera shot as well as he made his way up the inside. My goodness, just outbroke himself, yet again losing a position. It's been a really tough day at the office for the Uruguayan, Lewis. Yeah,
Aravallo making the move there. Just that defensive run into the pit lane as well, so I think it might get worse. Did get a black flag for that, so that's exceeding track limits too many times. Obviously, you get the instant points in-game for exceeding track limits and for car contact as well, and clearly has done too many of them. He'll be driving down pit lane and will lose out even more. It means he's going to start the next race in 12th. Might be even worse than that, though, once the race is finalised and the penalty is fully applied. So not a good race for Blanco at all, I'm afraid.
Yeah, no, he's going to be right in the centre as well of all the chaos that will occur heading down into Tamburello ahead of race 2. It's not really a place you want to be, really, Graham, is it?
It's not. And again, congratulations to Robert, Ronald and Esteban there. The top 3 is a great place to put yourself at race 2. But yeah, no, you want to be up there as high as possible for this next race. And yes, and you never know, right? With Robert there maybe touching Jackson into turn 1. You know, now Jackson's behind him into turn 1 for the race 2. So you never know. It's there could be a wee bit payback. You just never know. So it's going to be an exciting race start, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're Jackson Resende now, I would imagine by and large you've got a point to prove. Would you say, Graham?
I think so, right? I think Robert Santos will be looking in his mirror going into turn 1, that's for sure. But again, you don't really want to be going in with that kind of mindset. But after getting shoved off from getting such a great start, basically leading into turn 1 to go all the way back to where he did, he done a great drive to get back. But yeah, I don't think that battle's over. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that one, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's going to get very feisty, I think, on the run down through towards turn 1. You certainly don't want to miss it, folks at home, and we do appreciate you tuning in as well. If you've only just joined us here, welcome to the Ferrari HP Esports Series. 1 race to go, Lewis. It's all or nothing now. As it stands, with the points being divvied up, we will take a look at the results when they come through. Obviously, remember, they're all provisional, folks, but Robert Santos, Ronaldo Carlos, as it stands, your top 2 in the classification. After finishing first, Robert Santos taking that all-important 25-point bracket. Then we have Ronaldo Carlos, 18 points against his name. Esteban Tellez on 15. 3 points ahead of Jackson Resende after just losing out right at the start after moving into the gravel at Tamburello on the opening lap. Would have wondered what could have been, I'm sure, after that, but now he'll have a chance to prove himself heading into our next race, and at least he managed to recover some of the damage. Francesco Biaziotto in 5th, Brent Ruiz in 6th, Daniel Molina in 7th, Matthias Aravallo in 8th place as well, with 4 points against his name. We move down to Preston Lay in 9th, then Brandon Matt William in 10th, then Guglielmo Caligari, who is not racing here tonight. 0 points for him. Beltran, Para, Signoretto, Paiva and Blanco, who of course had his own challenges in that first race at the same time. But I think largely we've got this dynamic, Lewis. It's going to be a feisty one, I think, here and now, because obviously you've got two drivers currently disputing up at the very top, the two Brazilians of Robert Santos, Ronaldo Carlos. If you are, and I know Graham, Graham touched on it with me just now, but obviously when you've got a driver that is just simply so good as Jackson Resende, you know, pace-wise, clearly it's there. Just that little mistake that occurred at the top turned out to be a big one in terms of the overall arching race results come the end of that one, especially considering the short format. He's going to be going at it like hell for leather, I think, in the final race.
100%. I think Jackson Resende, based on what we saw on that race start, he got the race start perfect. I wonder if he can do the same thing from fourth position, if he's got enough room to move his way forward. I get the feeling that he is going to get pretty aggressive in this race, knows that he has to, knows that it's kind of now or never. Like I say, I'm fascinated to see how it's going to work out, and let me tell you something, the only thing that is going to be going through Jackson Resende's mind at the moment is, Robert Santos, you did pump me off. That's all that's going through his mind.
And remember, of course, by and large, you know, don't get me wrong, the stewards here, but everything is provisional at this point. I mean, we could see it all twist up later on in the day as race one is concluded.
100%. I think like this, where again after race one and race two of both the EMEA and of course the APAC region that we had a little bit earlier on in the day, and of course yesterday evening, we had a bit of a clear picture as to where things were going. This again, as I said before, by far the most open when it comes to it. Again, that even comes down to not just the speed of everyone and how close everything is, but also that race control of a few things to look at after that race as well. It's going to be an exciting race. I do expect to see what we would call in the business a whopper into T1.
Yeah, definitely going to be a whopper. I mean, Graham, just to bring you in on this as well, just looking ahead to this second race, I mean, what is your plan? What's the mental picture you're building ahead of what could be a very crucial moment, teeing up to the end of the iRace?
Yep, honestly, I think obviously depending who you are, you've got a different mindset. If you're Robert in P1, you just want the easiest race ever. You want to turn into turn one and see a big crash behind and have a big gap and just bring it home. Where if you're Jackson, you really need to go for it. You really do, because he has the pace. He's been up there. He almost led into turn one, so he knows he's got the pace. And like what Lewis says, if he can nail that start again, he'll be right up there straight away. I honestly think he can win this race if it goes well for him in lap one. And if he does, then it really starts to mix things up for that sort of second spot. So it's not just going to be the Robert and Jackson. You never know when they two battle, someone else could sneak through, you know. So I'm saying sort of top 5, top 6. Anyone can still go through tonight, I think.
So you're fully expecting Jackson Resende to go full elbows out, I think, ahead of the second race?
I think you have to, because if you don't, again, this race will end and you'll sit there and say, why didn't I, right? So obviously within the limits, but yeah, I'm expecting him to get the elbows out and looking forward to seeing it. Yeah,
we've definitely seen that it is possible, Lewis, because we saw it, didn't we, in our first race, actually, of this regional finals phase, when we witnessed Norbert Tamas from the second row of the grid move to the front, and he took it home and hosed, then went on, of course, to go lights to flag for race 2. So for Jackson Resende, this is possible.
100%. He's got send in his name, and so I think he's going to have to really use that going down into the into town. Look, 100%. Resende can win this race. Resende can absolutely win this race, but doing it whilst keeping your nose clean, that is the really, really tricky part here. I think Tamburello is going to be very, very interesting. I'm sure the race itself will be interesting, but I'm very curious to see how things are going to filter their way through. Where we've had it so far in this championship, where the opening race has been, you know, having a little bit of a couple of incidents, and the second race has actually been, relatively speaking, a lot calmer. I don't somehow believe that's going to be the case here, George. I think race 2 is not necessarily setting himself up to be a calmer affair than race 1.
No, not at all. Well, we're just coming to the end of basically the formation, up the foot ready ahead of the rolling start. Just finally, Lewis, predictions? You know I love these.
Oh, mate, you're throwing me at it again. I picked Jackson Resende in the previous race, and I don't want to pick him again, but I am. Sorry, Jackson Resende. I'm going for it. I want to believe. I want to see it happen.
And Graham, quickly from you, what's yours?
I'll join Lewis.
Resende it is. Resende all round. A resounding Resende pick here ahead of this second race in this Americas region of the Ferrari HP Esports Series. Front row, it is going to be these two again. The two Brazilian dynamos, Robert Santos, Ronaldo Carlos, decorating the front end of our grid as now we sprint down towards Tamburello, awaiting the lights though firstly to go red before they then go out and they put pedal to the metal. And it's go, 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 go. Great start from Robert Santos. Ronaldo Carlos may have been slightly slow. They're getting away. The momentum may have certainly come away from him. Esteban Teles coming into this at the same time, and off to the gravel goes Carlos, and he gets a slowdown. Biasiotto into third at the same time. Jackson Resende, a poor start, and down in ninth, Lewis McGlade.
Once again, he straight-lined the straight on the chicane. Tamburello did Resende. This time it was a lot cleaner though. There wasn't the drama that pushed him over. I think he can only blame himself for that one, but he's already going on the attack straight down the inside of Crow as they work their way into Tozer, and kicks of oversteer off the corner and gets locked a little bit with the car. Now starts to squeeze over. It's getting very messy here as Aravalo tries to work his way through. Flashing the lights. Understand that one. That was a bit dirty, wasn't it?
You get the sense of frustration here from Resende, and you have to wonder whether he saw him coming and tried to prevent the momentum or the run from Aravalo from sort of getting in his way coming up through Piratella. This is Jackson Resende with one mission and one mission only, and that is to move his way through the field, recover the damage that was done coming in towards Tamburello. He was hoping for a better start than that. It failed him. Now he's down in 8th place and chasing after Preston Lay. Half a second between those two, and when you're in this position, Graham, it is so difficult to move your way up in the order, especially when they're strung out the way they are.
It is indeed. It's a really tricky turn one again there for Jackson. It's sometimes you really just need to tuck in and accept that you're maybe not going to make a overtake in turn one, where I think straight away when the lights went out, he's pulling out, he's into turn one, he's trying to go around the outside, and it's just not paid off for him. But he was giving it his best, but yeah, that squeeze coming out of the hairpin, I'd hate to tell you what I'd do after someone done that to me. It's not very nice, that, to be honest. But nah, listen, it's all kicking off, and like you say, only 2 spots to progress, so it's a very feisty race, this.
Yeah, I shudder to think, Graham Carroll. I shudder
That's
to
what's being pinned.
Quaking in my boots as though he watches Ronaldo Carlos makes his way down through towards Tosa in the number 2, all painted in yellow. Of course, Carlos not getting as good a start this time as he did in our first race, but still very much in the thick of the action. Has got Francisco Biasiotto in front of him as it stands. Biasiotto having a largely better race. Also a decent start here for Esteban Teles, Lewis. He looked fast in our last race, and now he's got a full opportunity to challenge Santos over the race win. And in his position, ideally, a win would be very nice.
Well, yeah, certainly so. I mean, if he can win this race, then it would 100% be Teles and Santos being the top 2 on the points. At the moment, with where Teles is, he is second in the points. It was a 3rd place in the previous race and a 2nd place in this one. With Carlos, who was 2nd place, now is running in 4th place, obviously would be 3rd in the points. So things are looking good at the moment for Teles. The only problem is that, I can't remember exactly what the countback is, but I think if Carlos is able to get past Biasiotto, then there is the potential that because Carlos had 2nd place in the first race, that would take precedent on countback. Fastest lap coming in from Teles. Maybe it's a must win here from Teles. Certainly is a must take the 3rd place away for Carlos, as we've got plenty of battling coming in behind.
Yeah, plenty happening here with Preston Lay, who was right in the thick of the action in our first race. Remember, we had that big crash heading down in towards Rivatsa. By and large, it was him that we believe caused it, as now we see Resende going side by side there with Ruiz. They're going to go side by side. It looks like Ruiz just stepped into the gravel there. Resende taking full opportunity of that moment coming up through Tosa, and now they'll make the run up through towards Piratella. Will it be Argy Bargy once more on the run up through towards this very fast left-hander here this time? Resende still being met here by Brent Ruiz up the inside, but not quite enough for Ruiz to move back alongside. Cracking move from Resende there.
Yeah, Resende's leaving very little on the table here with the amount, the aggression that's been driven around here. That could be a slowdown penalty, though, for Resende. I think he's going to get away with it because he didn't drive 4 wheels onto the white concrete there on the exit of Aqua Minerale, but he's pushing it to the very limit. Espinosa, though, does get a slowdown penalty, drops to 15th position, so a few drivers taking liberties here with the track limits, as Esteban Teles once again keeping Santos very close company. Of course, Teles never got the opportunity to go for Santos in the previous race because he was held back by Carlos. Now he does have the opportunity. He's got 11 or 10 minutes and 20 seconds to try and find what would be an important move as he sets the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, really impressive here from Tellez. The pace certainly with him. As now Gonzalez takes the fastest lap as well. Just on Resende there, Graham. I mean, that is a driver with nothing to lose right there.
Exactly, it's almost a repeat of the first race, really, when you look at it, just having to fight back through after a bit of drama at turn one. So, again, we've said it before today, what could it have been if he had got through that lap one, race one, and maybe won that first race? It's a completely different evening. So, it's a shame, but that's motorsport, that really is.
Yeah, Preston Lay in front of him at the moment has gained 3 places since the start of the race. Daniel Molina gaining 2. Biasiotto sits in 3rd at the moment, gaining 2 places as well, with Ronaldo Carlos losing 2 in behind him. Of course, Carlos not getting as good a start as we mentioned already in this particular race, because the race prior was significantly better, as Raymond loses 2 places now, down into 21st. Signoretto moving up into 19th, with Mambrin in 20th. As we now ride on board with Tellez, who's still chasing after Santos at the moment. The gap not closing down that much, despite Tellez largely being the quicker driver, Lewis.
Got the pressure very much on, though, of Santos, our race leader. Again, around here, one mistake, one slow down penalty on the exit of Variante Alta, and maybe that gap's closed down enough where you could do something coming down into Tamburello and such. Crow's had a slow down penalty, finally served it. I mean, it took a while for him to serve that one in its entirety. Fastest lap now comes in for Santos, your race leader. The group's behind, all extremely close on speed. Gaps at the moment, all right. At the moment, Tellez doesn't necessarily need the overtake for the race lead, because at the moment, on points, he would be in 2nd position. It would be Santos and Tellez 1st and 2nd, and those 2 that would be progressing through into the grand final. But it only takes Carlos to close down into that group to get past Biasiotto, that really does open up. There comes a look to the inside as Preston Lee and once again Resende go side by side.
Yeah, Resende looking to now once again move up another spot. Remember, this was the same picture we saw with Ruiz on that occasion, but unfortunately for Resende, not the same result. Remains behind Preston Lay on the run out of the Piratella section, heading downhill through towards Aqua Minerale. Slowdowns there for Signoretto and also for Mambrin at the same time. So Mambrin, despite getting past Signoretto under the slowdown, doesn't actually concede the place back either, though. Mambrin holding on to 19th spot is now what looks to be a very resolute Resende, just looking to try and move his way up through the field as quickly as possible. Needs to as well, because we're coming into the halfway point of this race, about to hit the 7-minute and 30 count since the lights went out. Remember, 15 minutes in total, as we see yet another slowdown come in, this time for Gabriel Paiva further down in 14th, and we'll have Brandon William for company very shortly as they come through the final corners now and look to light things up. Santos now this time with the fastest lap of the race, 34 thousandths quicker than Esteban Tellez, so able to keep Tellez in behind. And Ronaldo Carlos, though, largely green on that last lap. Here comes Resende again, very nearly close to contact with Preston Lay as they go wheel to wheel through Tamburello. Resende rescending it. Through he goes in the opening sector and takes P6.
Yeah, again, a bold move there, a little bit of contact, that's absolutely fine. Got to get a little bit elbows out on those moves as we go back to Brent Ruiz, who's keeping Blanco bay, but was also looking to try and get a move on Arevalo. Wasn't quite able to get down the inside, though. It was really on the exit of Tamburello, to be honest, with everyone kind of backing up behind that Resende Lay battle for 6th and 7th position. Not long left to go in this race, though. Just 6.5 minutes of racing left to go. 4 final laps to deal with, so not many opportunities. And look where that closest battle in this top group really is. You've got that tight one between Carlos and Biasiotto, and that really comes down to those transfer spots into the grand final.
Yeah, I mean, Graham, when you're Esteban Tellez, are you leaving everything to chance, or are you going to go for it at this point?
Honestly, if I was him, all I would be looking at is my relative to see how far the Ronaldo Carlos is behind Biasiotto. It really would be. That would be my main aim here, just focusing on that. And because I think Santos has been really quick, right? He is sort of leading the way. He's keeping a 2nd gap. But yeah, I'd be just looking at my relative and just keeping an eye on P3 and P4 and really watching out. Maybe they need to drop back and give him a bit of tow to help him out. Anything to make sure I get to that final, you know.
Absolutely right. Well, here comes Ruiz now once again. Remember, we saw him go side by side earlier on. We're now going to watch the move that was pulled together by Jackson Resende just fairly recently. Obviously managing to get past Preston Lay on the run down through towards Tamburello. They were wheel to wheel, but then later it would be the better line on offer here for Jackson Resende that would allow him to move through past Preston Lay and up through the order he went into 6th place. Now we've got Gonzalez and Ruiz going side by side. Also, Ruiz looks like he's going to lose out once again this time. Gonzalez with the momentum and carries it through. And back inside the top 10 is further up. It looks like Aravalo also closing down on Preston Lay in a battle over 7th place. Yeah,
this is that one that you were talking about there, Preston. After getting passed by Jackson Resende, now feeling the pressure of Aravalo behind. Blanco's not too far behind as well. Gonzalez, it's all queuing up a little bit behind the Canadian, and I don't think that particularly likely of hanging on all the way until the checkered flag. Yes, there's not long left to go in the race, just 4.5 minutes, so about 3 or so laps from this point, but it's one of those ones that's going to be a tough one. This, though, the important one, the battle for 3rd position. Can Biasiotto hang on from Carlos? I'm not so sure.
Well, he could be in trouble here, and Biasiotto, of course, will have Tellez cheering him on to ask him to defend the place, but I think he's going to be up against it, because in comes Ronaldo Carlos into a crucial 3rd place that could yet decide his fate, moving through to the grand final at Ferrari World Yas Island, Abu Dhabi. But Biasiotto now coming back. Is he? No, he's not. Coming into Villeneuve, Carlos cements himself into that P3 place, Lewis.
Yeah, so what that means, the importance of that, it means that Carlos and Tellez will now be locked on the same amount of points, which is very interesting. With 33 points between the pair of them in that fight for 2nd position. And again, that'll go down to stewards and stuff that they'll need to look at to identify the situation, see if there's any penalties as well to dish out from the 2 races. But at the moment, I do believe it would be Santos and Carlos who would be the top 2 courtesy of the countback. So, I mean, look, Tellez needs to win, but 1.3 seconds, I'm going to say it now, he's not going to.
No, I don't think so. He's been forfeiting Delta left, right, and centre. This puts Tellez really on the back foot at this stage, and at the moment, leaving everything to chance. Gonzalez picking up a slowdown penalty at the same time, and he is currently fodder for Blanco in 9th place as Resende gets past Molina for 5th. It's been a late charge from Resende, despite being by and large out of the equation. He's really putting up a stellar fight, as is Brendan Ruiz, who's now looking to go around the outside of Blanco here and charging down the long straight through towards Tamburello. Unfortunately for Blanco, it looks like he's going to be on the wrong end of this exchange, and once again another battle as now Ruiz looks to hold on to P9. Onto the grass goes Blanco at the same time. Preston Lay also cruising in on his outside, front left to rear right, not quite making contact with the 2 white Ferrari 499Ps, and Blanco just doing enough to hold on to 10th, and that singular point that they'll be hoping to take from this. But back comes Lay again, coming in towards Villeneuve, and they'll continue to tussle. It looks like Lay, though, on that occasion got the upper hand, because Blanco has gone off.
Out. Yeah, he's bailed. He got a penalty there. He exceeded track limits too many times, I think, and all of that. Maybe with a little bit too much contact, and he's decided, right, well, if I'm getting a penalty, then I might as well drop out of the race. Why not? So unfortunately, day done there for Blanco. It's not been a particularly great day for him, unfortunately. Got involved in some drama basically on lap 1, coming out of Tamburello, and it's all been slightly downhill from there. Resende, who we're looking at now, closing in on Biasiotto, who was able to find his way through in the previous race. He'll have a little bit of time left to try and find his way through on this one, although he's going to have to close back up again after receiving a slowdown penalty for exceeding track limits at Variante Alta again.
Yeah, taking liberties for the few of the apexes of the corners. It has been obviously impressive again from Resende in a sense of how he's recovered from adversity. But again, you're wondering what if, Graham, with this driver?
Exactly. It's been really, some of these moves have been impressive, bar the out of the hairpin squeeze. But yeah, honestly, both races, he's just had a terrible turn 1 in both races. So yeah, what could he been? And watching him come through the field here, it's great, but probably not great for him inside the car, you know.
Yeah, very nearly lost out to Molina again. Remember, of course, he overtook Molina not too long ago to move into this P5 position, but has now lost tread on the back of Biasiotto. The gap now extended out to 1.8, so all of a sudden Molina becomes the big threat as they head in towards Tosa. And then uphill once more. It's still Santos, though, in complete control. It's been an assured drive as Resende runs slightly wide of the apex. He's making his way down through towards the next segment here at Aqua Minerale. Here, Santos. It's been an assured performance, Lewis.
Yeah, he's been absolutely brilliantly confirming himself as being top dog here in the Americas, and will secure his position potentially. Obviously provisional with a race 1 incident, probably under investigation after this. Potentially straight into the grand final. At the moment, it would be him and Carlos. Obviously, Carlos had 2nd place in the first race, so on countback, he would be the 2nd driver to move through.
Yeah, obviously all results provisional, but as it stands, on the face of it, it will be Santos and Carlos going through. But now, as we see the POV, it's Robert Santos who makes it 2 wins from 2. The emotion clear, he is delighted, probably can't believe he's done it. Santos a winner here in race 2 now, confirming his spot in the grand final of the Ferrari HP Esports Series. All provisional, of course, as we have suggested. Esteban Tellez finishing a gallant 2nd, a great effort. Arguably, probably should have shot for more to confirm his place at the grand final, but largely he could have been undone after Ronaldo Carlos matches Tellez's first race performance, achieving 3rd himself. Biasiotto down in 4th with Resende, a mighty fight back to take 5th, but unfortunately did not capitalise probably where he should have done. But a good race, Lewis.
Yeah, really exciting one. And again, just a great drive from Santos, like we've seen from the previous 2 regions as well. It's been exciting, it's been close, it's been fascinating, but I've got to say, some of the racing in this, absolutely superb. Elbows out. I love it. I love seeing these cars that are built for endurance racing. Obviously, are built for 24-hour racing, built for doing 8 hours, 15 minutes. Get door banging, and they're going for it. They are not afraid to put those moves on, and we've seen some great overtakes this evening.
Yeah, we definitely have. I think we've seen probably a lot more than the 2 previous regions. I'm sure there's going to be more to come as we make our way in towards Assetto Corsa and Assetto Corsa Competizione. But it was a feisty affair, wasn't it, Graham?
It was indeed, and can I say a big congratulations to Robert for winning both the races, Esteban and Ronaldo for P2 and P3 in both of them. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But it's been a great night. A lot of people have got the elbows out, and it's made some great races.
Yeah, I mean, largely, from your perspective, we'll get back to that. We'll just quickly go through the results just quickly. Robert Santos, currently registered as your top driver. 2 wins in 2 races, 50 points, and he holds on to 1st place ahead of Ronaldo Carlos, who on countback, we figure, will go through, of course, to our grand final as it stands. Remember, all results provisional at the close of races, matching 33 points, though, with Esteban Tellez at the close of race 2. Jackson Resende in 4th, a mighty fight back, takes 22 points, level with Francesco Biasiotto. Daniel Molina in 6th on 14 points. Joint on 10 and Matthias Aravalo, and Brent Ruiz down in 8th place. We move down then to 9th spot in our standings. It's Gabriel Parra on 4, 1 ahead of Preston Lay. Brandon Matt William on 1 point, and then the rest are on 0. Caligari, Beltran, Signoretto, Paiva, and Blanco. So that confirms where the points are currently stacked at the moment. Obviously, like I said, all provisional. But nonetheless, folks, that concludes iRacing tonight. They haven't disappointed, have they, Graham? I think largely we've seen lots of action left, right, and centre. We probably had the majority of the chaos in that race 1 affair.
Exactly, yeah. It was like all the way 3/4 of a lap, all the way around. It was still kicking off. So, yeah, that, and again, for the sort of 1st and 2nd, kind of a bit of contact going in, it's always exciting to see a bit of a moment. But yeah, no, it's been great. All the races from yesterday, this morning, today. We've seen some really top drivers, some great performances, and let's see how they all adapt when they get to Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, obviously this is only the first steps really on the road to the grand final, and the heat will be turned up. I mean, the intensity behind it, because it's one thing to do online, Lewis, but a whole other thing when you're all in the same room together.
Yeah, exactly. Very different kettle of fish when you're dealing with the big prize, when you're dealing with your competitors there, you're dealing with a rig that you've not driven on before, and the pressure of having to get out of the rig and then potentially get interviewed by you. My goodness, what a horrible experience that would be. But obviously, you know, the important bit now is that we've done 6 races here on iRacing. We've got 6 drivers. We've nearly got half the grid already then for our grand finale, and it's a fascinating bunch already. I can't wait to see what we get from Assetto Corsa and ACC.
Yeah, obviously now we can look ahead and perhaps just discuss some highlights, obviously. In terms of iRacing, Graham, from the top of your head, what have been your highlights from the 3 regions that we have seen so far in iRacing?
I really liked Gail Valero's move around the outside at the Villeneuve chicane. You know, just to have the courage to go for that, knowing about netcode, and I know how experienced he is on the game. He knows all the risks of doing that move. It was a really needed move to get him into the points position, so that stood out for me the best so far.
And what about yourself, Lewis? What was your main, should we say, standpoint, your big standout, I should say, after the 3 nights we have had so far, or the 3 broadcasts we've had so far?
Do you know, I think it's not particularly easy to look at. I think my main talking point from this is, let's say, for example, we were to say just these 6 drivers, right, and then we were to put them all into a grid together and say which one's going to win. I actually think it's really tricky to work out who is the top dog. I think to go on with what Graham was saying there about the overtakes from Gal Valera and how confident he was, I think he's almost like laid it down as like, yeah, okay, you all got through by, you know, dominating your race and whatever. I had to work a little bit more for this. And I think that could carry some extra confidence for him heading into the grand finale. But then again, that is also 2 months away, so who knows?
Yeah, still early days. Yeah, we've still got 2 more platforms to bring you folks with all 3 regions taking part. But nonetheless, we look ahead to yet another couple of rounds, or certainly different platforms on the Ferrari HP Esports Series calendar. But from myself, George Morgan, Graham Carroll as well, big thank you to you, Graham. Shout out to you as well, Lewis McGlade. Thank you so much for joining me here this evening. And to all our proud partners, we thank you as well. Thank you to all the viewers at home. We will see you next time for some more action on the Ferrari HP Esports Series. But from all of us here, goodbye.
Ciao, ciao.